to order the meeting of mayor and council. If you would all stand and rise for the invocation by Councilman Holland. Excuse me, Councilman Quinlan.
Dear God, thank you for your amazing power and the work in our lives. Thank you for your goodness and for your blessings over us. As we come before you this evening to discuss important matters, we ask for your guidance and wisdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. If you remain standing for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. As for tonight's meeting, it's going to be a little bit unique. Typically, we kick off the meeting with public comment, which we're going to do again. However, if you have public comment or questions relating to the public hearing coming up immediately thereafter, if you would hold your questions and comments until after that hearing is conducted. Reason being, you may have a question that may be answered during the public hearing, just for time in the process, if you'd hold those questions until after the public hearing. As opposed to those, do we have anybody else here for public comment not relating to that issue?
We have Maya Krasker.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Maya Krasker, and I am the Energy Services Manager for the Delaware Municipal Electric Corporation. As most of you know, DMEC is the joint action agency that provides aggregated services for our 9 members, including you. In addition to power supply, we provide energy efficiency services, demand response programs, and training, just to name a few. We also provide state and federal representation to protect against legislative and regulatory changes that could negatively impact our members. As many of you may be aware, these past few years, we've been active with issues pertaining to the high costs due to the closing of Indian River and the subsequent high prices of the capacity market as a result of the generation shortage on the peninsula. As the industry comes to transition forward to cleaner burning generation, agencies need to come together to work to ensure reliability during what's being called the energy transition, and that's what's bringing me here tonight. DMEC will be hosting its annual dinner on September 18th. That's a Wednesday, and we want to personally invite each and every one of you on the council to attend. We'll be doing something very unique for the first time, and that will be having a panel of industry professionals talking and providing their personal insights as to the state of the energy market and where they see it going. We'll have Scott Corwin, President and CEO of American Public Power Association, which is our national association. He will provide an overview of the markets. We will also have Adam Ward, who is a Senior Vice President of American Municipal Power, who will be able to talk about the federal emissions regulations. Brian Lee of ACES, who will talk about generation mixes, our portfolio, and how we may be able to better align and fill our generation as needs, especially as load grow. Generation as needed. In addition, we're going to have Dustin Thompson, who is the president of this Delaware Sierra Club. He will be talking about environmental concerns as we morph towards renewables and the state portfolio. Our president and CEO, Kimberly Schlichting, will be the moderator of the panel, which is sure to be an engaging and educational experience for all. We hope that you will put this on your calendars and that there will be and that you will attend and join us at our 45th annual Joint Action Agency dinner. And the cards that are on at everyone's table seat, those are the invitations. So, hope to see you guys there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did. Rookie. Do need to backtrack on one thing prior to the rest of public comment. Do need to get approval of minutes.
Excuse me, I have a public comment.
Yes, sir. Give me 1 second. You'll be next.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry.
Approval of minutes for the regular meeting on July 23rd. Are there any questions regarding those minutes? If there are no questions, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, I make that motion.
Okay, a motion from Councilman Holland. Do we have a second?
Councilman Quillen, I'll second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, they are passed unanimously. Now we'll return back to public comment.
Dan Cannon.
I certainly respect your request that things about the public hearing would be postponed, but my comments are much larger than the public hearing is intended to cover. The ongoing Route 20 renewal, the announced Virginia Avenue Bridgeville all-way stop, and the newly proposed Bridgeville Highway Route 20 roundabout are being and will be implemented and controlled by the State of Delaware Department of Transportation, always known as DelDOT. To date, I have heard little or nothing about the coordination and integration of these vitally important plans for traffic changes and upgrades. The City of Seaford needs to convey a strong message to DelDOT that the current work and future projects in this key area and along this key artery need to be fully and carefully coordinated and integrated in order to meet Seaford's current and future needs of traffic safety and efficient traffic flow. With this in mind, please consider advocating traffic flow on Route 20. Currently, traffic flow is being impeded along Route 20 due to traffic light restrictions, physical obstruction, and especially left turns at the intersection of Route 20 and Bridgeville Highway, even as Stein Highway is being upgraded by DelDOT. First, the timing of the two traffic lights on Normandy Street Highway continues to unnecessarily impede westbound traffic after release from the shopping center light by being almost immediately stopped by the next light at Chandler Street, at least 80 to 85% of the time. The latter light should either be eliminated or adjusted to respond to real-time traffic needs. Second, other traffic light restrictions are due to left turn signals along Route 20, which are either unnecessary with virtually no traffic in the left turn lanes, or far too long for barely existing turning traffic. These problems should be alleviated by 1, using electric eyes to eliminate left turns at Sussex Avenue, Nylon Boulevard, into and out of Nanticoke Automotive or Chandler Street when no turning traffic is present. And 2, using electric eyes to reduce the length of all left turn signals to match real-time traffic needs. Third, there is a concrete curb at the eastern foot of the eastbound Route 20 bridge over the railroad. It needs to be eliminated as this projection extends out nearly to the left lane, posing an unnecessary risk to the traffic moving east and interfering with a safe left turn onto North Pine Street. The roundabout at Route 20 and Bridgeville Highway, not surprisingly, the problems here have multiplied as the businesses near or around this intersection, north along the Bridgeville Highway, have multiplied. This has produced an increased volume of left-turning traffic concerns at the intersection may be alleviated by a proposed oval roundabout if and only if the proposed roundabout will do 3 things. 1, eliminate the grossly unsafe practice allowing left-turning traffic to enter the Dunkin' Donuts establishment directly from the left turn lane. 2, minimize similar but less troubling left-turn problems for traffic seeking to enter Harbor House parking lot from the North Bridgeville Highway from the intersection. And C, perhaps most important in my mind, prevent what seemed to be a virtually preordained traffic snarl on Bridgeville Highway between Route 20 and Virginia Avenue, as these traffic snarls are likely to result from the DelDOT decision to create an all-way stop just a short distance north of the intersection at the junction of Bridgeville Highway and Virginia Avenue. We sort of measured it out, and it looked like it's about 1,500 feet, or a football field and a half. To the best of my knowledge, these potential snarls have yet to be recognized by DelDOT. However, the potential snarls need not only be acknowledged, but coordinated and integrated planning to deal with the problem before it materializes. Full integration of planning for and execution of changes for these close proximity traffic conditions by DelDOT is a must. I strongly recommend that the city enlist the help and support of Representative Short, Senator Richardson, to effect successful coordination and integration of these DelDOT projects. Thank you for your attention in these matters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here for public comment?
Nora McMurray. Mark Bryan. Randy Hill. Okay,
Is that all?
that's all.
Thank you so much. Okay. Do we have any correspondence?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay. Going to move on to the aforementioned public hearing regarding the feasibility analysis for Norman Eskridge Highway.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
So as you've mentioned, we are here to discuss the feasibility study, but I want to first read this disclaimer statement into the record. This is a presentation of a conceptual design resulting from a feasibility grant that was awarded to the City of Seaford by the Delaware Bike Council. This is not the city presenting a planned project that's in our capital improvement plan, nor is this in the city's budget planning process. Any forward movement with this would require DelDOT participation, funding, approvals, as these are state-maintained roadways. Additionally, it would also require many conversations with all the property owners in the area, as well as approval from you guys as city council members. So a little bit about how we got here. In 2021, many of you may remember, we unfortunately had a fatal a cyclist accident that occurred in this intersection. A gentleman was hit by a car. Shortly thereafter, a presentation was made to some members of DelDOT, which some of the members of our sitting council at the time attended, that discussed a conceptual design particular to this area. From there, it was encouraged that the city consider submitting for a bicycle safety grant, particularly because of what had just recently happened in that area. So in August of 2021, staff worked together to go ahead and submit for that grant. In January of 2023, we were awarded $21,500 to be able to do a feasibility study, and the council in January at that time approved going forward. A preliminary tee-up of the plan was done at that time as well. So in March, we executed the contract with Tool Design and a gentleman by the name of Dick Van Veen, who's in Europe, to begin working on this project. As you can see by the timeline, it took some quite amount of time, a lot of back and forth, but we were able to have a final review meeting with him in July of 2024, which is the product that you guys all have received in your board pack. That was also submitted to DelDOT, and I believe you guys may have received those comments as well, both on the plan and the summary. And in the presentation, we'll kind of just gloss over some of that. So that brings us to where we are today. So I'm going to go over it at a high level, because as you know, the summary in the packet is quite lengthy, so I tried to provide the cliff notes for you. The purpose of this feasibility study was to implement a roundabout design in the intersection of Norman Eskridge Highway, North Front Street, North Street. This was viewed as a complicated six-way signalized intersection with major bottlenecks and traffic safety. Traffic flow for pedestrians and cyclists is challenging, particularly in the areas where they're trying to go by bike or foot to some of those businesses within the area. In concept, it's to provide a safer and more balanced access for all modes of transportation. So the existing conditions, as I sort of alluded to, this area is actually designated as a bike route, but it doesn't have any designated bike facilities. And pedestrian crossings, as I mentioned, are very, very limited. So going into this design summary, which again is a concept plan only, it would reduce to a single lane around what we call the peanut shape, the dog bone. We've called it multiple shapes. It would reduce traffic into a single lane in one direction because it would replace the signalized intersection. As you can see on the bottom right of the screen, North Street, the access from North Street would be closed off, providing more space for some of the roundabouts and the pedestrian traffic and the walking area. The middle driveway for Dunkin' Donuts, which we all know comes out onto Norman Eskridge Highway, would be closed off and combined with the entry of the Harbor House. And the drive-through would remain in the back with rear access to that North Street extended. The church, the Our Lady of Lourdes Church, which is to the west, would be reduced to 2 driveways, both being 20 feet each, to allow for more pedestrian and bicycle. School is just right after that, and then further back you have the high school and an elementary school. So based on the conceptual design developed, the consultants feel that the proposed roundabout is feasible in the location without major right-of-way impacts, noting that additional engineering development would be required to confirm all the right-of-way availability, determine the stormwater management impacts, confirm circulating geometrics, and work with the property owners as far as all of those things are concerned. So to touch briefly on some of the items that DelDOT, if you go through the plan, if you go through the summary, there's many in there, and it was a lot for me to call out, so you do have that. But some of their questions, again, one of the bigger things is discussions occurred with the property owners regarding these frontage. Some of the turning movements, they had questions about the trucks. The overall question that they noted, is there anything preventing this from being 2 separate roundabouts? Perhaps a short distance between the two. Having 2 separate roundabouts would reduce the volumes navigating around the entire oval. Again, these are comments from DelDOT. These aren't comments from staff. This is what we got back from their engineers. So I'm here tonight to just basically present to you the findings from tool design. Any questions I can answer? Probably not. Unfortunately, I will, let me go back. Unfortunately, our grant funding was out of dollars because of this. So that's why they're not physically here. Plus, he's also in Europe. That's why they're not here tonight, and staff is actually presenting this on their behalf.
I have one question.
Sure.
I'll turn it over to council members in a second. Just as far as the process is concerned, I don't know if this is for our city manager or you. After this evening, we get feedback from the council and the public. We want to provide that feedback back to the designing team. What does that next step process look like?
So, Mayor, that is a good question. As the Director of Economic Development pointed out, we have no more funds for this. We don't have, city hasn't budgeted any funds. This is not a project. We advanced this to this point on a grant. So to do any more, it would require more funding, either grant funding, DelDOT funding, or city funding. So at this point, we take the information, and depending upon how we want to proceed, we'll go from there, continue the project, shelf the project, advise DelDOT where we are, and kind of go from there.
Very good. Only one from me. Any questions from council? Councilman Quinlan.
Yes, I read through that packet, and I don't see any light control, anything, traffic lights or even pedestrian lights in this whole design anywhere, okay? I have a lot of concerns with that, okay? First off, we will lose control of the traffic flow by allowing the elimination of any traffic lights in this area. And then if in the future that we see that there's a problem, we can't go back to it, okay? The next thing I see is the narrowing of the one lane going through there. You've got Side Highway and you've got Norman Eskridge Highway, which is 2 lanes, and you're going to filter them down to 1 lane. There's going to be traffic backup tremendously. So I don't see a good fit with this concept that we're looking at here right now. And then I guess I would also say the entrance going into Harbor House, that would be the entrance for Harbor House and also for Dunkin' Donuts. And there already is an issue there already concerning probably the line from Dunkin' Donuts going in front of Harbor House, and Harbor House ownership or management is put cones up there to eliminate that. So now we are creating that problem again with that. So they're the things I see with this design that I have concerns about.
Councilman Bradley.
Well, as you probably well know, I have an opinion because I have an opinion about everything. I personally think that this whole activity has treated the symptom and not the problem. And I don't see a feasible way that this can possibly work. I understand why the city took on this task, because if they hadn't, with a death, and the city sat on their hands and did nothing, it would have been stated, oh, look what you did. You didn't do a thing about it. In this case, you all went through this, you've gotten a report, and the problem is there is a retailer on the corner that is doing more business than what his piece of property should allow. And if it were anywhere else in Sussex County that the state had control, it would have been taken care of by now, right after the first death. So I can't be in favor of it at all. I really cannot.
Councilwoman.
I just have a question. Do we even know if this is on DelDOT's? Because you know they've got a list. We waited forever for the main Stein Highway to be on the list. Do we even know if this is on DelDOT's list, that this is an intersection that they want to do something about?
I can't answer that directly. What I can say is that our proper protocol for the city to request DelDOT action on roadways, there's a couple ways to do it, but the proper protocol is to go through Sussex County, and we have not submitted that to Sussex County to roll up to the state of Delaware. But DelDOT may have their own process, and they may have identified it for other reasons, Councilwoman.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? Okay. Do we have?
Go ahead. In your previous presentation, you said there were comments from DelDOT.
Yep. These are the comments on the actual design. There was also comments to the summary
It's on
as
sheet
well.
1, it's the red boxes.
Well, I got it. This just leads up, I've been looking through this. I see a mention of 17,000 vehicles a day, but I see no mention of how many commercial vehicles, how many combination tractor trailers use it. I think it's an excellent design for somebody who has a vision for pedestrians and cyclists, but I don't think any thought has been put into it for 17,000 vehicles per day across this. And I know there's an issue. I know it's unfortunate that you had a cyclist that perished in an accident. I'm not so sure that he wasn't violating some traffic issues or codes and laws when he got struck by the vehicle, but that can be set aside. pedestrian and cyclist safety is important, but I don't think it's paramount at this intersection. So I'm appreciative of the design, of the effort that went into it, but it's incomplete, and it's incomplete.
Any other questions or comments from council?
I just have one more. Is it going to require another study for us to look at the little things that can be done at this intersection that would make life a whole lot better without having to do this peanut? That, you know, as far as turning left certain places, the traffic lights, lighting for pedestrians, lanes for pedestrians or bicyclists. I mean, those things are a lot cheaper and a lot less, you know, detrimental to the traffic in the area, but are things that could reasonably be done.
There's a couple avenues we can take. You're probably familiar with some, I'm sure other council members are. Because of the proximity of this location within walking distance to the school complexes, there is the Safe Routes to School program that we can get DelDOT involved. They've actually been here, they did an analysis, they presented a plan. Help me out, Trish.
It's probably
7 years ago?
6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, we decided not to move forward with that plan. Council decided that. We did request Safe Routes to School through the Director of Public Works to look at the Virginia Avenues intersection several years ago. They did do lighting improvements. They did do some pedestrian crosswalks.
And we got sidewalks in front of the cemetery.
Yep, yeah, the city undertook that. So yeah, there are avenues to do the things you're talking about. Lighting is done in conjunction with our Director of Electric, submitting it through DelDOT. We have to meet their requirements, but it's our lighting, our poles. So yes, there are things that can be done. To that vein, if I may, Mayor, one of the takeaways internally we talked about this design, you know, the closure of North Street there may have some benefits in that, you know, you've got a 35-mile-an-hour road in Norman Eskridge Highway, and people are coming off of it very close to the intersection, you know, hitting their brakes, making that turn. And then North Street is very wide, so they're already doing 35, and they see this wide road, so they hit the gas. In a lot of ways, we have a lot of speeding issues through there, that kind of thing. Something in the future, the city may want to talk with DelDOT, if we have the opportunity and it makes sense, do we look at something like closing North Street to take that out? Then it's not a 6-way intersection, then it's down to a 5. Maybe we return that neighborhood to more of a residential neighborhood with lower speeds, you know, by structural design. So I think there are some takeaways from the engineering effort that was done here, the design effort.
Councilman Quinlan.
Yeah, also, going what you're talking about a little bit there, City Manager Anderson, is also, I would like to see was eliminate the 2 exits that's coming out from Harbor House and Dunkin' Donut, and having access into Harbor House off of North Street Extended, coming in that way, and also entrance and exiting and coming out of Dunkin' Donuts off of North Street Extended there, and eliminating those 2 exits coming off from the front of those 2 facilities. I think that might be a good possibility there.
Do we have any more questions or comments from council? Okay. At this point, I'd like to have anybody in the public who came here to make comment or have a question, please come forward. If you would, please state your name and address at the podium.
Mark Bryan at Harbor House, 504 Bridgeville Highway. This plan here, the guy and I at Dunkin' Donuts have worked out a deal that I let him use my parking lot till 9:30 in the morning, so his traffic can go through. After that, my traffic needs to, you know, be there. You got 2 lanes, one going and coming from his place. They'll be in my retail. There won't be no parking places there. It's crazy. And I don't want my customers coming on North Highway, North Street Extended, and not being able to get out You can't walk between me and Dunkin' Donut now unless you want to get run over. And if we come in that way, when they did all that paving, you can't walk across my truck lot without getting run over. Because people are shooting through there, like, it's crazy. So, you know, I'd say you take this plan and put it in the bottom drawer. Because I don't see nothing works good here for me. And I've been here 40 years. So, that's all I got to say about it. But if I come off of, if you close the street off, what's that, North Street? That's gonna be a problem because, there's gonna be traffic going through me and Dunkin' Donuts. I won't have any parking. And like I say, I mean, you take your life in your own hands walking across there because people are cutting through there like crazy. But Dunkin' Donuts and I have worked out a deal where I let him use my parking lot. But most of his traffic, with that happening, till the traffic calms down, goes out the back way.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone is here for public comment or have questions? Yes, ma'am. Go forward. If you say your name and address at the podium.
Stacy Tafo, and I'm just defending you and your business. I love going to Harbor House. I was in there yesterday, and I just asked them, and they're not for it. I'm not for it. I work at the middle school. I already know there's a light coming in at School Lane in the Catholic Church. I feel like that will help, but putting in this other thing is going to bottleneck that up. And I pick my son up almost every day, and again, I just feel like everything's going to be piled up. And then I was thinking this afternoon, more people are going to come downtown. Can we manage all the traffic coming downtown? Because they will not want to deal with that. And I live on Willie Street, and I take my son fishing, and I feel like some of the money should be allotted to fixing some of the streets. I just went down the hill over here the other day, Sunday, with him fishing, and I could not believe that that road was not paved. And I just got my car back from hitting the community pool fence in June by accident. And I was like, oh my God, I don't even want a rock hitting my car because I just got it repainted. And I just feel like some of this money could be allotted to the city fixing some of the other stuff, and I'm all for bike stuff, but I just feel like all this is going to make more accidents with the bikers, with us, with the kids, everything, and I just want it under the table. And again, I hope you win. And I wish you the best for thinking, going through all this.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here who'd like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Chris Vane, 133 North Pine Street. I have 3 words for mayor and council, city manager, and anyone else who may be in a position of authority or influence on this proposal. Don't do it. A little background. I've been commuting from Seaford to the Lewis Rehoboth area for 31 years. In the past few years, I've seen the state's propensity to use all-way stops and traffic roundabouts as the new go-to idea to calm traffic flow, all in the name of traffic safety. It doesn't work. The reality is stacked up traffic, as these methods beg the question in the mind of the vehicle operator, who's on first? I don't need another taxpayer-funded traffic study to tell me what I see with my own 2 eyes every day. We have a well-functioning intersection. I have been through it tens of thousands of times. I don't see the problem regarding foot or bike traffic not being able to navigate it as is being reported, notwithstanding the one tragedy that we had several years ago. We just paid for a repaving and upgrade to this intersection. And now we're talking about tearing it out sometime in the future and starting over. This is nonsense. That plan is nonsense. We, folks, have to have a backbone on this and push back on these types of ideas. Let's bring this proposal back from the nonsense zone and to the reality zone called common sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here for public want to make comment? We have one comment we'll read into the record.
Yeah, Christina Darby. For City Council, the proposed roundabout at the intersection of Eskridge Highway and Front Street is an idea that can provide proven safety measures to substantially reduce accidents, promote lower speeds, and improve traffic flow. I have never seen nor experienced one of these designs, but it should benefit the safety of the community, plus provide an increased aesthetic. However, after having said all that, my grave concern is that some motorists, and including the big trucks, will continue to operate at too high of speed, be discourteous and reckless. If all drivers would simply obey the simple rules of the road, roundabouts would almost be unnecessary. However, the number of vehicles that speed with 3 or 4, blatantly running a red light, barely stopping or not stopping at all at stop signs, and the discourtesy too often witnessed is rampant not only at this intersection but all over our town, including High Street. While I'm a strong proponent of roundabouts, the council might want to look at what is and has been going on with Georgetown's roundabout. My guess is the roundabout does provide a semblance of its stated purpose, and their traffic barriers are helpful in maintaining the beautiful center landscaped area. But again, do little to protect those from drivers speeding, being inattentive, and discourteous. The solution should be simple. Slow down, obey the rules, have common sense. Unfortunately, it's not so simple. Thank you, Christina Darby, Seaford.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody who made comments tonight. This is part of the process we have to go through. Those comments are very, very important to the process. It allows us to hear from the public, know what you guys want. The sentiments expressed up here from council are very important, so we really appreciate that. Since this is a public hearing, we do not have a motion required for this, so we're going to move on to new business number 1. And Steve Mullins from the Nanticoke Little League.
All right, so I'll tee this up just a little bit for Mr. Mullins. Introduce Mr. Mullins, who is the Little League president. He reached out to me a few weeks ago, and they are contemplating building a storage building, 30 by 40, on their property. And we worked together over a week or two. In your package, you have a Google Earth shot of the, and I think they have it there as well, of Williams Pond Park. That yellow square is approximately where Mr. Mullins would like to place the 30 by 40 building. I did send it out to the Director of Public Works, all of staff, Director of Electric. There are some concerns about the irrigation system in the area as well as the electric service for the lights. But Mr. Mullen has worked with us, and he is somewhat flexible on the actual final location of this building. So once we get out in the field and we get everything located, he'll work with us to stake those so he doesn't build anything over top of any infrastructure that we need to maintain. I'd just like to point out in your package is also the agreement for the Williams Pond Park that the city executed between the Little League Association and the city in 1976. And one of the caveats of that agreement back then that is still in effect states both parties agree that all permanent buildings, fixtures, or equipment placed in this park at the expense of the Nanticoke Little League, ownership of these buildings, fixtures, equipment is transferred to the city of Seaford. This is necessary because a private corporation cannot own permanent buildings, fixtures, or equipment in a public park. Would include portable bleacher stands. Little League is aware of that. We've discussed that. I just wanted to make council aware. This is an older agreement. We still use it. We still honor it. But should this be constructed in this location, should council approve it, at some point it would revert to our ownership, so we would have to insure it. We would have to take over maintenance responsibilities that the Little League would not do. But they ask us for very little throughout their organizational history. We have a great partnership with the Little League. Mr. Mullins, did I leave anything out that you and I discussed or that you think is pertinent?
No, just the fact that just to give you some background, we've been trying to do a lot of improvements out there. If you've rode through there, we've built two new press boxes. We've completely revamped 2 more with new roofs and everything. We're redoing all the dugouts. Hopefully within the next month, we're going to start putting doors on the dugouts so we can lock them during the off season and try and help with some of the homeless people. So the basic concept behind this was the fact that our present equipment shed is in really bad shape and basically falling in on itself. Originally, we had looked at putting it on the outside of the roadway over in the tree area, but looking at it, probably going to have to take a couple trees down. So we looked at it again, and that's where we came up with the present location. So originally, we had it on the other side of the road in the tree area between the road and the pond. And looking at it logistic-wise, trying to get some of the equipment that we're looking at storing in there in and out, it just didn't work from a logistics standpoint. So we looked at it again and said, okay, we have this open area that we can probably fit it in. Like you said, some of that's contingent on if we get things marked out, we can move it, feet-wise, east-west, north-south, whichever way we got to do in that field, or in that open area. I'm not sure, I have to double-check too, I'm not sure where the irrigation lines run from the fields out there, so I got to try and locate them too. So a lot of that's just contingent on, a few feet one way or the other probably. So.
Okay. Are there any questions for President Mullins from council? Councilman
Just
Quinn.
one. The old equipment shed, what is the plans for that?
The plan is to tear it down and just re-level that and clean up some of the debris behind it so you get a little more view of the pond. The thing is just tear it down, discard everything.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Okay, if there are no further no further questions from council, I'll accept the motion. Councilman Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the request of Mr. Steve Mullins, Nanticoke Little League President, to construct a 30-foot by 40-foot shed on the Williams Pond Park property as presented.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Quillen. Is there a second?
Councilman Grassett, I'd like to second that motion.
A second from Councilwoman Grassett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, it passes unanimous. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, and new business number 2.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
City Manager. Mayor, tonight to present the bids for a meter site analyzer. A little background on that. Any commercial meter site that's 400 amps or over has to have CTs or PTs to get accurate reading. There's about 500 of them in town. We've never had any way to test the CTs or PTs. In the past, if you thought something was bad, you'd go out there and replace it. But we have no way to test it. This lets you go out on site without doing anything to the power. It doesn't affect the business at all. We can go on there and do an accurate test. It'll test the CTs, the PTs, and the meter all at one time. So it'll be a nice tool to have. Nick Moore, the technical coordinator, is coming up with a plan on how to rotate around by the size of it. The larger size service, maybe we test every 3 years. The smaller ones every 5 years. So he's working on that already and pretty much has it written out. So we went out to bid on August the 7th, 2024. We got 3 bids from 2 suppliers. The first one was from Tesco, $33,001.56. The second one was from Radion Research for $35,781.91. And that was a factory rebuilt demo unit. The third one was from Radion Research for a brand new one, was $45,159.41. They're all delivery time 2 to 6 weeks. It's my recommendation to award the meter site analyzer bid to Tesco in a total amount of $33,001.56. They were the lowest bidder and the shortest delivery time.
Are there any questions for Director Bennett?
Is the Tesco one a brand new one as well?
Yes, brand new one.
Vice Mayor Henderson?
Thank you. So, how often do you have to test them?
Pardon?
How often do you have to test the analyzer?
It gets recertified every year.
Every year?
Yes.
Is it sent off, or you got somebody come in?
There's a company that will come on site, or Tesco, their main plant is just north of Philadelphia. And that's where we go right now, actually, for meter school once a year. So you could probably just coordinate it with the meter school when they go up there for school, they could take it up. They're there for 3 days. They could, certify it, test it, and certify it, and they could bring it back.
Do you suspect, or do you suspect that in the fleet of the 500 CT or PT sensors that you have failures? There's no way to know, I guess.
Yeah, there's no way to know if you see the usage, the billing department looks at it, and if my bill drops drastically, they say, hey, go look at this. But actually, if it's a slow decline, if it declines a little bit over 5 years, it may not be in that range where they look at it. Some of them I put out there 35 years ago. Some of them are actually older than that. I know Tesco, when they came down and did their demo, we went to Walmart because that's one of the bigger users. And it's been out there 30 years. And it tested okay, the meter and the CTs and PTs. But the other thing this does, the CTs will magnetize, and that fluctuates the readings. They may test okay, but so either one of these, Tesco and Radion, you can demagnetize the CT. So that brings it back to factory settings.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions from council? Okay. If there are no other questions from council, I will set the motion.
Councilman Bradley, I'd like to make a motion to award the bid for the meter site analyzer to Tesco in the amount of $33,001.56 as presented.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Bradley. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Councilman Holland with a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Passes
Thank you.
unanimous. Thank you, Director Bennett. All right. We're going to move on to old business number 1.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So we are presenting for a second reading an ordinance to amend Chapter 8 of the Municipal Code by adding Article 10, curfew, that would prohibit juveniles from being out between the hours of 11 p.m. through 5 a.m. Monday through Sunday. And at the last meeting, the chief did do a presentation related to the ordinance, went through all the caveats of the ordinance. We were asked a question by Councilwoman Grassett at our liaison meeting about how parents would apply for this. Should we enact the curfew? Because as was stated, it is under the mayor's purview, under advice of the chief, to enact the curfew. It would be an executive action. And the concern that was expressed to staff was, we need to make this simple for parents that have children that are working, that need to be out, have a necessity for that. So the IT department, the police department did get together, and they've created the document that you see there, and I'll let the chief describe the use of that and where that'll be posted and give the details on that.
So, thank you. excuse me, Mr. Mayor and council members, city manager. The form that you see up on the screen here is pretty comprehensive, I think. It includes the juvenile's information, their name, date of birth, address, and their phone number, along with the parents' information, relationship to the child, if they're a guardian, their phone number and email address, what type of authorization details are included, whether it's work, school, volunteer activity, or other, along with the details of the activity, whether it's a school, the name of the employer, things of that nature. It also has a location where they can put the work hours, specific work dates. Some folks might work shift work later, closing up at restaurants. And if it's a school event or volunteer activity, they can add that as well, along with emergency contacts, just in case they can't reach the parent or the guardian. There could be a grandmother, something of that nature, brother or sister. And also, it explains on here to sign it, date it, even to include the employer's name and contact information, and what to do with the document. So the premises is that this document will be on the city website under the police department. It could be on the ordinance side. It could be in multiple locations, but it definitely would be under the police website, where you would click on curfew. You would have a copy of the ordinance there explaining the details. Along with this form, it would be PDF fillable. They would fill it out, print it, sign it so that there's proper identification on the form, so a kid can't just go on the form and fill it out and submit it. And then they could mail it into 300 Virginia Avenue to the police department, to our attention. They could email it as an attachment, or they could bring it in person. And then that form would be put on file. And we have call takers that work 24/7, so obviously they would probably be scanned in as a hyperlink into an Excel spreadsheet where officers are out on the scene. Then they would simply be able to call in. The call takers could go, do a search, pull up the hyperlink, and have the access to the information. And this, at the end of the day, too, is, officers are going to be, just like they do with any case, use discretion based on the circumstances. Because not everything is foul-proof. There might be some need. If an emergency exists and they're going out to a hospital, that's an exception to the rule. There could even be some form of an employer card that, we could look at down the road for employers to fill out. So we have that contact card in their wallet, like kids just carry it with them and update it as necessary. But I think that's probably the best way to address it, with the form that captures all of the particulars under the exceptions, to the that's listed in the ordinance.
So we discussed this internally, the timing of this, and as council is aware, should council decide to approve this ordinance and enact it, it would be effective 30 days after the advertising period. So in our discussions with IT and the police department, we feel confident that now that we have this document drafted, we can have that live and on the website prior to the enactment of the ordinance. So if as Councilman Grass had pointed out, parents want to put this in place so they don't have to stress about it, they can fill that stuff out, work with the police department. Staff will try to answer any questions parents or children may have, employers may have. So preemptively, we'll have this ready to go in conjunction with the adoption of the ordinance.
I think it's an excellent tool for parents to be responsible for their children, to get out in front of it. I think that recommendation the council lady made is perfect. Why not just fill it out, have it on file already? It just makes good sense.
Are there any additional questions or comments for our Chief Kraft?
I just want to thank you for working on the form. I mean, I spent 18 years as a school administrator and 12 before that as a teacher and counselor. So trying to make things accessible for parents is really important, to make sure that good parents have the ability to comply. And so I appreciate you adding that form and getting that on there so that we can have that ready for parents.
I can't take the credit. Tricia, newcomer, to develop that PDF fillable. I'm a end user, not a developer.
There you go. Hear, hear. Any other questions for Chief Kraft? Okay, if we have no additional questions, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Henderson, I make a motion to approve the ordinance to amend Chapter 8 of the Municipal Code by adding Article 10, curfew, that would prohibit juveniles from being out between the hours of 11 p.m. through 5 a.m. Monday through Sunday, as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Vice Mayor Henderson. Is there a second?
Councilman Bradley, I second the motion.
Have a second from Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, passes unanimous. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna move on to the reminder of meetings and new meetings.
Just a few. Friday Night Live is August 16th at 5 p.m. Grass lot behind City Hall. Just a reminder for council, the first meeting of mayor and council for September has been moved to Wednesday night, September 11th, 2024 at 7 p.m. due to council chambers being used as a polling location in the state primary elections. So just a reminder. That's all I have, sir.
I'm going to move on to our liaison reports, and we're going to kick it off with Public Works and Wastewater Treatment Facility and Councilwoman Stephanie Gressett.
So I met with Mr. Mears and Mr. Anderson this week. Several things, a lot of cleanups were things that Public Works had said that they were dealing with this week, especially a lot of limbs for some reason. They did install the street sign for Dr. Carey, and I did see in the newspaper that dedication of that street sign. That was very nice. Added some water services on North Street, performed water station maintenance, tested some wells. They've been providing barricades for multiple events throughout the city, spraying weeds, and changing out some water meters and antennas, as well as other routine tasks. In wastewater treatment facility and composting, the plant is running well. They are working on additional inspections. They do need to repair a pump for the retirement living lift station, and they're waiting on those repairs, as well as a part for the Ross Station lift pump. Over the next few weeks, they're planning to continue their camera scoping of sewer mains. They will be installing a water service on Pond Street and replacing hydrants. And also not on the list, I did see that the paving for Magnolia Drive is underway, as I got detoured as I went home today. So that's great that that's underway to make that street a little smoother surface. And that is all I have for the report.
Outstanding. Thank you, Dr. Gressett. I'm going to move on to Police and Fire and Vice Mayor Dan Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to try to be really brief tonight. Got a scratchy throat. Got two complete reports from Fire Chief Wilson and Police Chief Kraft, and I'll just go over the year summary. In-city responses for the fire department proper are 365. EMS for the year is 1,632. Out-of-city responses are 224, with EMS at 1,081. Total number of assists was 70 for the fire department and 114 EMS calls for assists. That's a total of 659 fire calls and 2,897 EMS calls for the year so far. Number of significant incidents, one inside the city on East Ivy Drive for a working residential fire. Ambulance A87 is out of service, awaiting brakes. There's a chart showing the hours participated in and numbers of people in training. Under EMS, of note, something that's a little bit beneficial to the EMS budget and revenue. Medicaid and Medicaid managed care plans for the dates of service of June 1st, 2024, and after, we've seen reimbursements of BLS emergence increase to $334.85 and mileage increase to $10.15 per loaded mile. Medicare has remained the same. This will have a positive impact on EMS billing from the old payment of less than $70. ever since I have been fire and police liaison, it's always been a challenge for revenue for these services, and collection for these services. So it's nice to have some good news about revenue for the ambulance or the EMS service. Going to move on. There are new Knoxbox secure key systems. They're migrating to a new technology. The Knoxbox is a method with which the fire department and EMS can access properties without doing property damage. You might see a key box on a fence or on a property, and that enables the fire department to get access to that area without knocking the door down. They can actually do their job without causing additional damage to the property. So those technologies and management tools are being upgraded. The fire department attended AFRAM on Saturday, August the 10th, which I regret. I was not able to attend because I was out of town. They covered the Sharptown Station 14 on Saturday, August 10th, so that they could operate the Fireman's Carnival. And despite my throat, I would like to take a little bit of time to explain that all of the fire department's Class B foam is being replaced with state declassification of hazard substances. You might have seen in a recent, council meeting, we just enjoined a class action lawsuit about PFAS and some other issues, and firefighting foam was one of the leading causes of some of these things getting into the water supply. So the state has a program where we can turn in all the Class B that's in our inventory, and it will be destroyed by the state at no cost to the fire department. And it's been replaced with Class A foam, which is, time will tell, is much less harmful to the environment and to people, the firefighters themselves. So the fire department does have Class B foam in its inventory. However, it's not being used, and it's slated to be turned over to the state for destruction. Under the police department, Chief Crass' detailed report is below. There are 299 all crimes, pardon me, 10 are felonies, 50 is misdemeanors, 20 violations, 1 civil, and 218 other, for a 92% clearance rating. And that's an improvement over the period before, mostly because some of the pending inactive and some of the old cases were cleared out. 25, under additional crime below, there's 21 complaints with a 62% clearance rate. That's also been improved over the last period. 25 drug crimes with 25 adult arrests. Unfortunately, there were 2 overdoses. And under traffic, 374 traffic contacts, 136 citations, and 23 warnings. 1 DUI, none crash related. 21 crashes, 1 injury, accident, 5 non-reportable and 15 reportable. 5 hit and runs during this time frame. Some on public streets, but also several were on private property. There's the cadets were very busy through this period. There's a list of significant events, all which showed exemplary performance both by cadets, off-duty officers, and line-of-duty officers. I really highly recommend that you go through this and see what kind of good work was done during this period. Of note, on August 11th, Seaford Police Department assisted a juvenile at Meadowbridge Apartments with glass injuries. A vehicle was struck by gunfire near Cherry Beach in Sharptown, and the juvenile was transported to Tidal Health, treated, and released. The 2 vehicles with bullet holes were found and towed for the Maryland State Police to investigate. And for information on the shooting incident, you can contact the Maryland State Police at the Salisbury Barracks. You can see that they were busy with community events, and it's safe to unveil the upcoming event, the Seaford Night Out, which will be October 10th, 2024. So mark your calendars. And there will be more announcements on what's going to happen during that night. Officers Yost, Wilson, and Blake Kramer, and Cadet Brumley are working on the Food On program in partnership with the Health Initiative. And the police department was present, participating in the AFRAM festival. Pardon me. We want to close it out with cadets. The cadets were on bicycle patrol and ride-alongs, assisting patrol officers with complaints, arrests, proactive pedestrian and bicycle stops, as well as community engagement. The cadets handled 8 arrests and multiple prisoner transports to Sussex Correctional Institute. Cadet Morales continued to assist with translating on numerous occasions. Cadets on bike patrol on North, I think that's 814. You might, Chief, you want to chime in here? The date says 8/24/24. Is it the 14th? Under cadets? Yeah. No, it can't be. The 4th? Yeah. Yeah. The cadets on bike patrol on North. 7/23? Okay, well, that's tomorrow, so.
You're driving to Lori?
It's going to happen on 7/23, and it's highlighted as the very first bullet.
Right, I'm looking under cadets. So cadets on bike patrol on North Street observed a trespass in progress, stopped and identified 4 people, which led to 3 arrests, including a felony drug arrest, and that was outstanding work, regardless of the date. So I'll close it with that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Going to move on to Administration and IT and Councilman Orlando Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Downtown Development District Renewal Meeting was held with Director Trish Newcomer, and he met with a therapist that is possibly adding a location to Seaford, and you're welcome. And the meeting was held with Delaware Bioenergy Center for a project update, and they attended various other meetings and events, and all the work is routine. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Holland. I'm going to move on to Electric and Councilman Mike Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's not been much activity since my last report. Now, I wasn't shocked by it, though. I met with Bill and City Manager Anderson this morning. Between MSP and Polytechnics, a loop feed has been installed similar to the one at Wawa for reliability. Mostly routine so far this month. Most of our single-phase transformers have arrived that were on order. We will need 2 3-phase transformers for Nylon Capital. Unfortunately, there will be no return on the investment for a while until the project progresses further. Respectfully submitted, Mike Bradley.
Thank you, Councilman Bradley. And last but not least, Code, Parks, and Rec with Councilman Alan Quillen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start off with the Code Department. Issuing permits, we have 237 issued in 2024. Rental license, we're remaining at 1,796 that's been issued. Rental license renewals have been sent out and being processed. Rental inspections are being scheduled and completed. Doing routine inspections on ongoing projects, doing violation inspections throughout the city. Some of the large projects that are going on, Mirrorfield 1 Phase 3 still has 51 homes and lots being processed there, but Phase 4 has started with the installation of water and sewer. Bel Air Single Family, there's 10 lots that are going out there right now, so they're completing that right now, and there'll be 2 more sections after that once they complete these and have occupancy in these new homes. The Western Sussex Business Campus, progress is being made there, working on the sidewalks with landscaping to follow shortly after that. Definitely a lot of activity going on out to the Nylon Capital Shopping Center. The vault is finally removed.
It is.
And there'll be building permits submitted to create new shell spaces in the former Peoples and Butler sewing units. Also, permits have been submitted for the new Deltec and Tidal Health shell buildings as well. And the last one is the Taylor Professional Center. Everything is being framed up now, and that has been started as well. That completes my report for the Code Department. I'll go to the Parks and Rec, and I'll just hit some highlights here as well. Parks and Rec has been spraying for vines at the Industrial Park and along the Stein Highway Bridge, South Conwell Street, and along the fences on Virginia Avenue. Out to the football facility and also the softball complex out there. They have a new shed, and it has been trenched and plumbed with water at this point right now, so that's ready to go for the fall activities. Also assisted Seaford tomorrow in the AFRAM committee for their committee events, community events. Going over to recreation, we have 202 kids registered for youth soccer and 143 registered for youth flag football. Also, the Parks and Rec hosted a youth field hockey clinic on August the 5th through the 8th, which was the largest number of participants with 35, and we have a picture up there of all the young ladies that participated in the event, and it was a very successful event. In the past, they've always done it one day a week. This time they did it in a week span, so seemed to have a lot better participation in doing it that way. And we also have a total of 20 participants registered for the upcoming adult pickleball clinic, which will start next week. Also, Superintendent Hickey also submitted a letter to amend the current ORPT 23-250 grant, which is sidewalk extension out to Jay's Nest, to request the additional $7,800 for the project, and awaiting the state to sign off on that amendment. And also hosted an outdoor movie night behind City Hall on July 26th with Restoration Community Church, which the movie was Kung Fu Panda 4. Sent out draft layout for ideas for Riverfest event to present to the committee at their meeting on 8/15.
My understanding is we're going to try to revive Riverfest next year and come up with some new ideas there, so it'd be great to see that event come back to us. Currently working with Damian Brittingham and the Downtown Seaford Association and Seaford Garden on their permits for the upcoming special events. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilman Quillen. I see a couple McCoy kids in that photograph, I do believe. That tall one in the back needs to get a basketball in her hands, I'll tell you what. I want to thank everybody tonight for providing public comment. Again, it's vitally important to this process and getting your insight and helps us make our decisions. Really appreciate it. Besides that, we'll close it up. I'll set the motion to adjourn the council meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, I have a first from Councilman Quillen. Do we have a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
I have a second from Councilman Holland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, good night, everybody.